Hello, I'm Carter Lenzen, and welcome to QUTV News This Week. Two teams had a chance to play in the national playoffs this past weekend.
And I'm Lucas Laudentine. There are some real travel horror stories that we will hear about from around campus.
As well, the town of Quincy was in a panic as the city came out with some urgent news regarding the city's water, and that's where we will begin today. Students at Quincy University had to adjust their routines after the city of Quincy issued a boil order on November 6th. The order affected everyone west of 8th Street and later was expanded to the entire city of Quincy. QUTV's Freya Hansen is here to tell us about how the students were adjusting and how the situation is impacting on campus life.
Yeah, so Freya, can you tell us a little bit about how the boil order came about?
Yeah, so the city of Quincy issued an emergency boil order on November 6th, and the whole thing was caused by at a local pump station here in Quincy where there was a broken pipe, for example. So yeah, that really caused the whole thing, and that outage disrupted the city's water pressure and raising concerns about possible contaminations. So yeah, so let's see how the boil order affected daily life for students here at Quincy University. A boil order was sent out to the whole city of Quincy Thursday night, requiring everybody to boil their water before using it. And for the students at Quincy University, that meant no drinking from fountains, and instead they had to buy water bottles. A German freshman, Matilda Rumpf, she had never heard about a boil order before.
Well, I didn't know what the boil order was. I had to Google it and had to look at the Quincy website to figure out what it was. And yeah, just to look out to not brush your teeth with the tap water and stuff like that. And in the caf that you can't drink from the normal fountains.
The cafeteria at QU adjusted with handing out water bottles for the students after the staff had turned off the fountains. In addition, paper plates and paper silverware was available for students, but also students living off campus were struggling with the boiling order.
So is it hard for me because I live off campus, so I have to go out to get everything in order to eat, drink, and do chores like laundry.
I'm standing here on Quincy University where students are still being cautious about the water and still trying to stay safe. But until then, we have to buy our water ourselves. Stay safe out there.
But I guess I was kind of just surprised and shocked. We don't really have anything like this in South Africa, so it's a bit of a change. Also, it's crazy how one area can affect the whole city. So that's also, I'm just what? That's
City crews were working hard to test the water and making samples to make sure the supply was safe to drink again.
So Freya, what has been the general reaction from the students who are dealing with this unexpected water issue?
Well, I know that the main general reaction has been that people have been very annoyed and very dehydrated because we weren't provided with any water, and I just know in general for some of the soccer players that I know that they were dehydrated going to practice and stuff like that because they had to boil their water themselves.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Freya.
Yeah.
Quincy held a Veterans Day parade on November 8th. Participants marched down Main Street to honor area veterans. Several participants told QUTV what the day meant to them. QUTV reporter James Morton has more on the scene.
I'm in Quincy, Illinois on Main Street for the Veterans Day Parade. And today we're going to go find out what does the Veterans Day Parade mean to all the vets and the people around them.
Represents all the people that served for our country, for our freedoms.
It means a lot to me personally, and it means a lot to me to see the look in the veterans' eyes when they're recognized, especially our brothers and sisters who served in Vietnam.
Loyalty. That's about it, really. I mean, it's patriotism. Honor those that did serve before you.
It just means a lot to me because my father served in the U.S. Navy.
Of a lot of celebration and celebrating the bravery of a lot of our veterans here, and I think it's to celebrate a lot of the victories we've had as a country as well, and to celebrate a lot of the history that surrounds them.
After the parade marched down Main Street in the morning, participants took their parade to the Illinois Veterans Home. There, they visited with veterans and honored their time in the service. Every team says their sport is the hardest, but only one sport can claim that title. Let's see what some QU athletes have to say about it.
What's going on, QU community? It's Kyron Dene, and we all know Quincy's a school full of athletes, so I'm just going around campus today figuring out what these athletes think is the hardest sport on campus. Let's see if they'll be a little biased to their sport.
I'd say the hardest sport is definitely wrestling for sure.
And why would you say that?
It's the mental aspect of it. You know, you got to be out there for 6 minutes wrestling against a dude who want to take you down. You know, you're trying to take him down. You know, it's just all out for 6 minutes. You know, you got to have enough mental and you got to have enough energy to be able to do that.
I would say men or women's basketball because we have the longest season. And we're here in August and our season can go all the way to March. So it's hard to balance that in school at the same time.
I'd say hardest sport is between baseball and golf, just for consistency reasons. There's so many moving parts, and you got a fastball that's moving at you at 100 miles per hour. There's not very many people who can hit it.
The hardest sport on campus, I'd say, is probably track and field, because I did it in high school, and some of those events are definitely really hard, like the 400 and 800. So I'd definitely say track and field.
I'll probably say the hardest sport is baseball, just because you got guys that can throw 100 miles per hour at you and you have to hit the ball and then you have to go chase this little ball. Like, that's what I'm saying. A lot of guys play baseball, don't even make it, like, to the majors.
The hardest sport on campus probably might be wrestling. Wrestling across country. They both, all they do is just condition. Cross country literally is just running and conditioning. You're literally conditioning while you're playing. And wrestling, all they do is condition, just throw people around. I think I get tired doing that.
Seems like every sport has its own kind of tough aspects, but maybe that's what makes campus athletics so competitive.
How does stress affect you? Let's see what QU students have to say about how they cope with stress.
I'm here in the SSC on National Stress Awareness Day, and today they had arts and crafts for people to come in and de-stress. Let's check out some kids on campus and see some ways that they cope with their stress.
I like to go on walks, I like to drink iced coffee, I like to talk to my parents, just anything to get my mind off of school and basketball.
So what I usually do is just going for a walk at the evening just to get everything out and clear my head. But also I think the soccer practice helps me a lot to just calm down and relax and don't think about anything else. So just physical exercise.
I'd say trying to balance school throughout the day, and then when I get mentally exhausted, that's usually when football practice is, and that's where I physically do my work, and then at the end of the nights, then I'm ready to study again and focus on school.
I just like to go on a walk and call my family members, my mom and my sister, and that really helps out a lot.
I probably don't cope with it as much as I should, but I like to go on walks. When it's cold outside, it's kind of hard. But I like to go on walks, I like to read, I like to listen to music, I like to go out to dinner with my friends, kind of just take my mind off of everything that's happening and just enjoy life instead of stressing out about it.
Stress can happen so quickly, but luckily these students have found a way to find fun ways to get by. Who's your #1 fan? Well, we sent QUTV's Jasmine Hopkins into the stands to find out how the fans show their support.
Hey guys, I'm here at Quincy University's Women's Wrestling Meet, and I'm here to ask the crowd what support means to them and what support looks like to them.
Coming to tournaments and competitions, even when your kid is sitting on the bench, just supporting the team.
To care about the people you care about, and you want to be there for them. Because you know you care about them, that's the reason we support them.
It's being there for your team no matter what, whether you're going through hardship or even academic hardship in anything wise, whether that's home, school, friendship. It's just, you know, putting your feelings aside and putting what you have going on aside and showing up for your team and anyone else in your life.
You know, believing in us and our potential, our capabilities,
and it doesn't necessarily have to be monetarily. It could literally just be presence, just showing up.
To me, support looks like different teams showing up for multiple different other sports teams. So like sprint showing up for wrestling, wrestling showing up for stunt, things like that.
Yeah, that's my trainer. Good job, Brody.
You walk away.
Good job, Brody.
Support in general, I'd say like from your family, friends and all that, like they're always motivating you, telling you you're doing good, keeping you in your best form.
Support is having friends and family that are willing to look out for you and help you along your journey.
You can show support by going to the next Quincy University's women's wrestling meet and the university's other sports and show up and be loud. Lucas, I heard there was complete radio silence from flight towers this week.
Yeah, what I heard is they just had a guy down on the tarmac with a bullhorn kind of pointing at airplanes and telling them where to go.
I'm not sure about that, but after the break, we will see what air traffic controllers are doing since their paychecks aren't coming in.
It was the worst weekend for air traffic control staffing since the start of the federal government shutdown. That means air traffic controllers had to alter operations to keep the airspace safe with fewer people working. These steps can include rerouting planes or delaying flights when there are not enough controllers to handle the normal workload. The FAA has ordered airlines around the country to cut 4% of flights by Friday. The FAA has also prohibited most private aircraft from using a dozen major airports amid the air traffic control staffing problems. Exceptions are being made for military and emergency aircraft.
The federal government has entered a funding lapse, better known as a government shutdown, since Congress has failed to agree on appropriations and continuing resolutions.
And we'll continue to wage this fight. No matter what comes over to us from the United States Senate to the House of Representatives at some point this week.
The impasse hinges on spending bills and policy additions. Democrats are pushing to include protections for health care subsidies and block large cuts to health care programs. Jeffries is accusing the Republicans, especially Donald Trump, of choosing to shut down the government rather than negotiate in good faith. The Vatican media released a documentary about the life of Robert Francis Provost before he became pontiff. The film is titled Leo from Chicago. It centers on the personal history of Pope Leo XIV and his U.S. roots. The documentary uses interview footage and images to tell his story.
Every day we would go down to the basement. He would have the ironing board set up and the tablecloth ready to go, and we would have regular Mass. And he knew all the prayers. He could do it in Latin or in English.
The film is published in 3 languages, English, Italian, and Spanish, being showed on Vatican News YouTube channel. The in-depth interviews in the documentary include with Leo's brothers, Louis and John Provost, and a fun fact, the Pope's grandfather went to QU.
You know, Carter, I got some people I know that were a little excited when the weather got colder because they like to kind of start celebrating Christmas, you know, when the weather starts to get a little cooler.
I'm not sure that strategy would work, being of how our weather has been changing. But we will have weather coming up next from Michael Lanier.
Yeah, it was a little chilly this last week.
Yeah, I had to bust out the pumpkin spice latte because of the cold weather. Mike, am I going to need another one in the next couple of days?
The next couple of days you probably won't, but going into next week you might want to grab another pumpkin spice. But let's take a look at what we have going on this week in weather. So the cold was here, but it's going to go away for a couple days, and we're going to get a heat surge, but those fall colors are definitely going to be out, and they're going to be bright. Also, we had some breaking news for you guys. Look at this picture that was sent to us by Freya Hansen. Beautiful northern lights from a geomagnetic storm. That's going to be happening again tonight. So be sure to be outside and check out these beautiful lights. From this picture, I think I missed something because that is absolutely beautiful. So we'll move into today's weather. Today we have a high of 65 with an average degree of 54, so we're way above that, which is always nice this late in the year in November. But we do have a record from back in 2010 of 75, which is kind of crazy to me because I think 65 is good enough. But when we look at the lows, 35, which is the average low for this time of year. But back in 2019, I would not have wanted to go outside. As you can see here, it was 9 degrees at that time in 2009, which would have brought the snow that you probably saw a couple days ago. Moving on to today, like I said, it's going to be 65 today and sunny, so get outside, walk around. If you have a dog, take him for a walk, take her for a walk. It's going to be great outside, great conditions to go get some exercise outside. But moving into tonight, it's going to be a little chilly, so you might want to keep those blankets out. Maybe have that pumpkin spice on hand for tonight, because as you see, it's going to be 35 with northwest winds, 3 miles an hour. At 3 miles an hour, like I said, out of the northwest, maybe a little bit of some precipitation happening tonight as well. Moving into tomorrow, we're going to have the same temperature of 65 degrees, but instead of as much sun, it's going to be a little cloudy. Southeast winds coming at 7 miles per hour, so it's going to be a little chilly. Might not be quite that 65-degree feel, but we will be close to tomorrow, so you won't need sweatpants and a coat this week. You'll probably want some shorts if possible. Moving into this weekend, it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Friday, 74, so if you have any outside activities, want to go out on the town, it's going to be a great day for that. As well as 58 at night if you have the Illinois high school state playoffs are still going on, maybe some Missouri high school state playoffs that you might go watch. It's going to be 58 degrees, so maybe a hoodie for that would be nice. But it's going to be partly cloudy most of this weekend. Saturday, 71 as the high, which will be amazing football temperature for senior day as the Quincy Hawks take on the SBU Bearcats at the Rock, so that'll be perfect weather for that. Moving into the 7-day forecast, I'm going to step out of here. We're going to, like I said, Thursday, Friday is going to be beautiful, 65 and 74, but at night it's going to move down into the 40s. 58, not quite as cold as it will be Saturday. Saturday afternoon, 71 with a low of 39. Sunday is going to be gorgeous for when you head to church or head for your Sunday stroll. It's going to be 56 outside. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is going to be around the same, in those mid-50s, but it should still be a nice weekend, so get out and enjoy the weather, and that's what we have this week.
Thank you, Mikey.
Coming up, we hear from Lindsay Fisher on the sports teams whose season could last a little bit longer.
Basketball season is also right around the corner, and we will hear how the men's basketball team is looking for the upcoming season when we come back. Quincy had a lot to look forward to in sports this weekend.
Yeah, between women's soccer had hosted a GLVC tournament game and NCAA football still had a chance at a bowl game. Lindsay, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, those two teams weren't so hot, but our women's volleyball team hit 20 wins for their 4th consecutive season. We'll talk about that first. The Truman State Bulldogs came to Pepsi Arena this past weekend to see if they could shut down a very good Lady Hawks team. The Hawks were through the service line, causing disruption to Truman's serve-receive patterns and dictating tempo throughout the match. Quincy set the tone early in the opening set, jumping out to a 7-4 lead behind a 4-point run that included back-to-back kills from Janelle Pye Blackner, followed by a back-to-back service aces from Celine Turgut. The Hawks finished set 1 with a clean swing to secure a 25-17 win. The Hawks went on to win set 2 as well, 25-12, but set 3 was a little different story as the Bulldogs rallied and won the 3rd set 25-23. Even though the Hawks didn't win the 3rd set, Quincy responded with poise in the 4th set, refocusing to allow momentum to carry over.
I think we served aggressively. I think we got our middles involved early, which threw them off, and we found their holes. All of our hitters hit really aggressively, and a lot of them hit above 500, so that's really good. And we all just worked together as a team and played fun, or had fun, had a lot of energy. So that was good. And I'm excited to see how far we can go this season. We still have a few more weeks, and I'm just excited to see how far we can go and what we can do and accomplish together.
The Hawks hit a match best, .469 in the final set with 19 kills while holding Truman to single-digit kills for the second time in the match. Final score, Quincy Hawks 3 and Truman State Bulldogs 1. Then the Peacocks of Upper Iowa University looked to spoil Quincy University's senior night and see if they could stop the Flying High Lady Hawks. After the Hawks honored their 5 seniors, they got down to business. Quincy opened the match strong, taking a 5-2 lead in the first set as setter Elena Kasavica immediately looked for her senior attackers with early kills from Chetin and Pi Blacknerd. Tied 21-21, the Hawks closed with timely execution as a kill from Pi Blacknerd and an Upper Iowa attack air secured a narrow 25-23 set 1 win. Quincy was locked offensively from the start, hitting a .436 with 20 kills and just 3 errors, and Susanna Beretti was nearly perfect in the frame, finishing 6 for 7 with no errors. The Hawks went on to take the next 2 sets from the Peacocks, winning set 2 25-13 and set 3 25-22. Final score, Quincy Hawks 3, Upper Iowa Peacocks 0. The Lady Hawks will travel to Rolla, Missouri to play Missouri S&T for their next GLVC opponent. Conference tournament season arrived at Legend Stadium this past weekend. The Drury Panthers came to Quincy, Illinois to see if they hand the Hawks a loss and move on in the conference tournament. The Panthers struck early, finding the back of the net in the 13th minute when Kira Love finished a pass from Leah McDonald to make it 1-0 Quincy. Quincy responded throughout the opening half as Ella Wolford and Gracie Vieira and also Jessie Newton each forced saves from the Drury goalkeeper Katie Fitzler. But the Hawks entered halftime trailing by 1. The Hawks earned 6 corner kicks in the afternoon, highlighted by opportunities from Daniela Siegel, who registered 3 shots, including 2 on goal. However, Drury doubled its lead in the 65th minute as Holland Hawkins scored her 6th goal of the season off the assist from Davidson. Quincy outshot Drury 7-5 in the shots on goal and finished narrowly behind in total shots, 11-10. Fitzler ended the afternoon with 7 saves to secure the clean sheet from Drury, while Devin Tracy made 3 saves in the 90 minutes for the Hawks. Final score, Quincy Hawks 0, Drury Panthers 2. The Lady Hawks finished their season with a 10-4-4 overall record and a 9-2-3 conference record. The Quincy University men's soccer team took a road trip to Kansas City, Missouri to see if they could pull off an upset and beat number 1 Rockhurst University. Rockhurst struck first in the 20th minute on a well-executed sequence down the left side. Quincy continued to defend, limiting Rockhurst's chances, but trailed 1-0 into halftime. Early in the second half, Rockhurst doubled its lead by goalkeeper Jake Offerman executed a glancing header in the 53rd minute, making it 2-0. Quincy responded, earning a corner in the 62nd minute that led directly to its lone goal. Final score, Quincy Hawks 1, Rockhurst Hawks 2. Quincy Hawks finished their season with an 8-7-3 overall record and a 6-6-2 conference record. The Quincy University football team traveled to Fayette, Iowa this past weekend to take on Upper Iowa. Upper Iowa struck first late in the opening quarter, finishing a 98-yard drive with a rushing score to take a 7-0 lead. The Peacocks continued to build momentum and ended the second quarter 24-0. Just before halftime, Quincy put together a sharp 7-play, 77-yard drive capped by a touchdown pass from Braden Little to Jackson Burnett with 3 seconds left in the half. A 2-point conversion attempt made it 24-8 heading into halftime. Upper Iowa quickly regained full control in the second half, with the final score being Quincy Hawks 8, Upper Iowa Peacocks 41. The Quincy football team is officially out of contention for a bowl game. The Quincy Hawks will play Southwest Baptist for Senior Day at home this Saturday. The Quincy men's basketball season is set to tip off at home on Friday, November 14th against Cedarville University. The team that will welcome the Yellow Jackets looks very different than last year's team. The men's basketball team only returned 4 players from last season's team. That means there are 9 new players that head coach Brad Hoyt will be asking to make an immediate impact. 3 of the 4 returners were consistent starters last season that will provide some continuity.
You bring in 9 new guys, you're trying to navigate that. 5 of them are freshmen, and so they're getting used to the college life. So we've spent a lot of time the last 10 weeks or so together to try to bridge that gap a little bit, and hopefully it helps us on the floor in November and December.
The men's basketball team, who was picked to finish 13th in GLVC preseason coaches poll. The new roster will be put to the test immediately in the Midwest region crossover. The Hawks' second game will come against the University of Findlay, who is 23rd ranked team in the country.
Thank you, Lindsay. Lucas, I have some great news. The football team did not have to eat Golden Corral on this weekend's trip.
I only have one concern, though. I feel like that might have thrown things off, might have brought some bad voodoo. Please tell me the trip went okay.
I wouldn't say that, because coming up, we have why some of the worst times traveling is the worst part of an athlete's life. From Fayette, Iowa to Bolivar, Missouri, Quincy athletes have to travel all over the Midwest for their games. While people may think the travel is the time of their lives on chartered planes and fancy hotels, the reality is it is fast food meals and cramped buses. I took a deep dive on some of the worst travel stories on campus. With travel being an integral part of college athletics due to all the away games for each team, while some of these trips are extremely fun, some can end up in disaster. Olivia Gilbertson recalls a time back in England where their field hockey trip turned south quickly.
And we got onto the highway and our bus started like juttering and making funny noises. So we pulled over into the lay-by and turns out we actually were breaking down. So we broke down in the lay-by. The guys had to pull in behind us on their bus. And then we were all sat up on a ledge. We crawled up and were sitting in the tree so we weren't going to get hit by the moving traffic. And then we had to call the school and wait for them to send another bus. But our game was in 2 hours' time. So we ended up hijacking the guys' bus, driving that the rest of the way to Bath, and we left them stranded on the side of the road for, I think it was about another 3 hours. And we ended up with a nicer bus anyway.
While some of these travel woes happen on the buses, some happen on the field of play themselves. That's what happened to the Quincy University football team this past weekend.
It was pretty miserable with the wind and the rain combining. It just made it really bad.
While some of these travel trips have nice places for the athletes to stay, some of them smell like this dumpster right here. No matter where these student athletes stay, it can be a coin flip if something goes wrong on the trip.
What have you guys experienced with the worst travel? Mine personally was my junior year. We went up to Iowa to play in a dome, and on our way back, it was so cold, we didn't have ice scrapers, so our assistant coach was scraping our windows with her credit card.
I think my worst one was going up to Drake University last year, first game of the season, just to play a half of football, wait about an hour and a half to see if we were going to play again, and then we didn't play, and so then we just had to come back another 3 hours in the dark.
Yeah, I think mine's just a classic bus breakdown story. Bus broke down, the driver got out, thought we were fine. We go like another half mile up the road and we're on the side of the highway again because the bus broke down again. Luckily that one we were close enough to home that we were able to call some people, get it figured out.
Yeah, mine would have to be when we played at McKendree last year and someone broke the number 1 rule. Don't go number 2 on the bus. So somebody went number 2 on the bus and stunk the whole way back. But that wraps up today's QUTV News. Thank you for joining us for QUTV News this week. You can find more stories on QUmedia.net and on Facebook and Instagram. Have a great day.